Welcome back to watching film. Now we're going to take a look at the ECU defense. Their base seems to be a 4-3. So you have four down linemen here. I think they're typically in an over front, which means a three tech, so a guy between the guard and tackle, and a one technique guy between the center and guard on the other side, and then two defensive ends. When they spread out, that means they're doing something. Some type of game, and we'll kind of show you examples here. You'll see one here, actually. We'll kind of show you a more in-depth example from the snap. But let's take a look kind of at some of the coverage they do. They're not a really... They'll bring blitz, but I haven't seen... And again, I haven't watched every single play of every single game. But I haven't seen anything really exotic like we have in the past from... say Wisconsin or Navy or even SMU kind of did some of that exotic blitzing, a lot of movement. There's a little bit of movement. They'll do some slanting and blitzing off the edge. They'll add on, I think, is what they did a lot from what I've seen, but nothing wild. So here, we'll start kind of going through the coverages they run. So here, one high safety. So looks like cover three. Deep third, deep third, deep third. Up front, what you want to notice is if these two defensive tackles, so him and him, if they're spread wide, this has been almost every time I've seen it on film. If they're spread wide, they're going to run some type of game. They're going to run a tex, which is a tackle and end exchange. So he's going to come through here, try to go through the guard and tackle, and the end will wrap around. Go through guard and tackle on that side, end will wrap around, trying to create a pass rush with four guys by using movement. So here's cover three, it looks like. So he was your deep third player. He was your flat player. I think it's the safety kind of getting in on it. So they'll play a little cover three. They'll also go too high. They'll play a little more quarters, where the safety's got eyes on number two. So your eyes on two. Up top, he's kind of cutting underneath that. But the safeties kind of have eyes on two and are triggering. So they'll play a little too high. And they'll also go one high safety and play just straight cover one, which they did a lot in their game this past weekend against UCF. They played a lot of cover one, so I wouldn't imagine they would be afraid to play cover one against USF. You got to hit the shots when they're there, but they're not afraid to play it. And another thing you'll notice they do here is something I think where they may not call a lot of blitzes, but these guys might both be back players. At least one of them has the back in coverage if they're playing true cover one, which it looks like they are, because look, you got one deep, and everybody else looks to be manned up. And it's 1st and 10. This isn't third down where it's going to be a blitz down. I'm going to bring pressure. But so one of these two backers would have the tailback if you release on a route. So let's watch the tailbacks here. So let's see what he does. He sits in pass pro. So as soon as I see him in pass pro, I'm adding on to the play because I don't have a pass responsibility. You see that he kind of starts to add on late. The ball's already gone by the time he adds on. But what you'll see a few times throughout as we watch is they're playing cover one, and then if the back stays in the block, these guys add on to the pressure. And these guys are not afraid to be aggressive. Put this in here. Looks again to be cover one, but watch how aggressive these guys are filling for the run. ECU is doing pretty good job against the run this year. I think they're like 54th in the country against the run, just on average yards a rush. So not unbelievable, but you know, almost top, top third, top, you know, you know, definitely above average at stopping the run. And watch how aggressive the linebackers are. Aggressive, coming to fill. I don't even know if they filled this run particularly well, actually. You'll see they have some problems with run fits later. But now you're on a big island out there. And you've got to be able to win that one-on-one matchup out there because now you have a ton of space in here. The receiver now has basically from here out to win whatever his route is. That's all his, one-on-one with the corner. And he wins it. On the replay, he may have pushed off and stepped out of bounds, but regardless, he wins the space, and now you got a big play against your cover one. So here's another example. It appears to be running cover one. This appears to be an RPO by North Carolina State, where I've got eyes on him. He's coming flat. If he fills, I got a slant one-on-one here. He fills. There's the window for the slant. Ball's delivered. Break a tackle, pick up the first down. So this is the first game of the year, and they got burnt a few times in one-on-one, but they weren't afraid to keep coming back to it. So I would imagine you'll see this. So here's another good example, I think, of them adding on late to a pressure. So here the back stays in, and they both kind of add in and kind of help squeeze this pocket down, both the linebackers here. Right, back stays in the block. So now I'm going to kind of add in and kind of limit the quarterback's ability to run the ball too by kind of being in these gaps here. So there's not really anywhere to hide. Then the end beats the tackle for a sack. Another example here of them kind of, this could be a called blitz. It could be, I think they're adding on a little bit. Well, this one might be a called blitz. So they try to sneak the back up. He kind of hesitates to try to get them to add on. They oblige, but the quarterback is hit before he's able to get the ball out to the back. The end beats this tackle pretty good here and forces a fumble. So right here, he actually forces a fumble that ECU picks up. And this is kind of when they're making the run in the second half. You'll see these are still starters in. So while ECU, you may say it was garbage time, but UCF still had starters in. That's still the lefty quarterback in. And right there, beat the tackle, force a fumble. Again, not afraid to play one. Here's a wrinkle they threw in against Temple. Corner played up. If you're playing cover one, you may get your corner up. One thing guys like to do from the boundary a lot of times. So here's the ball's on the hash. So the short side of the field is here. Right, this side. The larger side of the field is there due to college hashes, right? So from the boundary, a lot of times, especially guys that will play man because it looks the same, will bring a corner blitz. Right here, just showing this to you so you can see they'll bring the corner from the boundary sometimes. Temple has a pretty good play call on for that type of pressure. But this is kind of a blitz they like to bring, not necessarily a corner blitz, but they like to bring, and you'll see here, they'll bring a guy off the edge and kind of slant and bring a guy off the edge on the back side. So that's a kind of way to do it with the corner. Here, they're going to kind of do a similar thing. They're going to bring him off the edge. There. And they're also going to see, you can see here, he's going to roll to the middle of the field. And they're going to roll to like a 3 deep, 3 under zone. So they roll to 3 here. And able to kind of, with all the slant and moving, they're able to basically get this end almost free down here. There's not much resistance, and he kind of gets in the quarterback's face. Forces a bad throw. Again, that's rolling the coverage and bringing some blitz. Here, it looks like they're going to roll to it again. So it kind of looks at the snap. You know, I think the broadcast called it late, but at the snap, you know, you had a safety here, safety here. He rolls down. He rolls to the deep middle. These guys are dropping, getting depth. Now, as he rolls down, this guy runs a slant by him, so he kind of runs with him and gets beat inside. But he's rolling down. They're bringing pressure. They might be bringing some pressure off the edge again. All right, so same idea. Bringing that pressure off the edge, and you have 3 deep, 1, 2, 3 under. UCF does a good job kind of catching them with this guy rolling down. The receiver beats him across face. And now you have a safety rolling away from where the receiver is running to, and that creates a big play there. And that's just a simple slant. There's not much to that. It's not some crazy scheme. Just a simple scheme executed well. And again, so it looks like here like we're going to roll to cover 3 again. At the snap. And bring pressure. Now the thing with this 3 deep, 3 under that they're playing here. So I'm rolling, I'm bailing. You know, it's tough to get if you have these guys running up down the middle, kind of running up the seam there and holding these kind of flat players. This is what can happen. So there's the corner, I believe. Here's the safety that rolls down, I believe. Let's double check. So right, roll down safety. The other safety rolling deep. Corner. So right there's the safety that's rolled down. He gets held by this vertical. So there's a vertical run right here. This is just a simple curl route. He's got deep third. He got pushed vertical by his receiver. Now there's a simple, easy throw on a curl route that's wide open. And the receiver makes a good run after catch. But this is not, like, again, I'm just holding him right there and throwing a simple curl out there. So if they want to bring pressure and play 3 deep, 3 under, there are some holes to take advantage of. And this is not a really tough throw. It's just throwing a curl out there. Now, one thing they had even though they've been pretty good against the run, they did show some problems on film with some run fits. This against William and Mary, this seems to be just a simple outside zone. And the linebacker, this backside backer really overplays it. You see here, he gets way over the top. The back's just able to cut it back. This is the left tackle, and that's the outside backer on the other side, getting way over the top. The back gets vertical. Sands has been able to show this kind of ability to get vertical in the zone. In the BYU game, he did a really good job with it. And the line has shown they're blocking this outside zone better. So this may be something you see from USF, maybe a little bit of that outside zone. Try to get those guys running laterally and then cut it up because they've had some problems with that. Another run fit issue kind of is you're pulling for counter here, and you kind of want to blow this guy up. Now, this is game 1, so this is stuff that could be changed right now, but you want to blow this first guy up. When I coached tight ends and fullbacks in college, and we were running, we're coming across the field to block. I would always, the aiming point is through this guy's inside shoulder. Because if he tries to avoid you, we'd always tell him, if he just tries to avoid you and go outside, he's going to take himself out of the play. So this is kind of the same thing for this puller. I'm aiming through his inside shoulder. you're hoping as a defensive guy that he comes in and just blows up this puller right here. However you want to teach it, you could wrong shoulder, keep his outside arm free, whatever. But hopefully I blow this guy up, keep myself in the play, and make a stalemate right here. Now he kind of tries to avoid it with like a pass rushing move, and this is basically like best case scenario. I don't even have to block the guy. I can miss my block. And this is what I would tell my players. If you go through the inside shoulder and he tries to avoid you upfield, well, perfect. You don't even have to block him. He took himself out of the play. So there's things like that where with USF wanting to run counter and running some action with their pull, if they fit it like this, you should be able to run the ball. And you see what happens here. Now, again, this is game one. They have a good coaching staff, so this is stuff that would probably, I'd imagine, be fixed. But you do see some problems with run fit on film. Even though for the most part, they've been pretty good at stopping the run. But that doesn't mean they won't misfit every now and then. Here's another kind of, I think this is the final clip. I know we have a couple more after this, but this is the final clip in their kind of run fits. They're playing, it looks to be quarters because you got eyes on two here, eyes on two here. And they bring the outside backers out of the box to cover up number two to take away any type of quick throw. Well, that leaves you with a 5-man box. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the linebackers 5. The offense has 5 linemen, a running back, and a quarterback. So, they have the numbers advantage here. And if you don't fit this perfectly, you're in trouble. So the back presses the hole, gets the linebacker to step up. The safeties have eyes on 2. And now I'm through the line and there's nobody left. So they have given up some bigger run plays this year, even though they've been for the most part pretty good against the run. This is not some type of juggernaut against the run. They're pretty good, but not unbelievable. So there are plays to be made in the run game. Kind of last thing, just to keep an eye on, something to keep an eye on, and we talked about it briefly, but typically, let's go back one. Let's get to good, where we got the line before the play here. All right, so here, if you see here, you have a guy kind of between the guard and the center right on this side, and then you have a guy between the guard and tackle. This is a tight end right here. So you have a 1 technique and a 3 technique. So a guy between the guard and center, a guy between the guard and tackle on the other side. So we look at this play here. We see these guys are almost head up on the guard, or maybe even his outside shade, right? Almost 2-3 techniques, or even 2-2s head up. It's hard to say. It looks like they're outside shade. So if you see that, this is what's coming. They're going to run a tackle end exchange. Some people call it tex, to try to generate pressure with 4, hoping they can kind of mess up the blocking scheme here and generate pressure with 4. Again, look here. That's not a 1 and a 3, is it? Looks like 2 3s probably. So I get my text right there. There. They're basically just exchanging responsibilities. It's just called tackle and exchange. And here you got a 3-man slide. So the center turns his back to pick that up. And now I come in free on the other side. So if you see those tackles displaced, if you see both these guys wide and there's kind of a gap here there's nobody between the guard and center on either side, get ready for a tackle and exchange. So that's kind of the stuff. They don't do a lot of crazy stuff schematically on defense. I think it's a new system, new scheme. They're probably trying to just make sure they're playing sound. They haven't brought a lot of crazy blitzes. They've shown the propensity to blitz, bring 5. Sometimes it looks like they'll bring 6 maybe, and if they're playing cover 1, they'll add those guys on. But nothing too wild. Nothing real exotic that I've seen. Again, I haven't watched every play, so I may have missed some things, but nothing really crazy. So hopefully this is a game where you have healthy players, and at quarterback, hopefully whether Jordan's healthy enough to play or Rigel has to come in, this is a game maybe you can lean on your run game a little bit, because there is some plays being made in the run game, even though they have had more success against run than the pass. Then if you can get them kind of in these coverages where they're playing 3 deep, 3 under, where there's some holes to expose, if you can protect, then you should be able to have some success moving the football and scoring. So hopefully USF can come out and kind of take advantage of some of these things here, take advantage of some of the, I'd say maybe not having as many exotic looks to get ready for as you did against a Navy or against the SMU, where they would show you a lot of different things. Even BYU probably switched things up a little bit more than ECU does, but they also didn't like to bring pressure at all. So that's kind of a different look, but maybe even a little bit more complex. But that should be, I would imagine it's a game where USF can have some success on offense. Hopefully you have guys out there that are able to make plays, and that's really kind of going to be the key. Can you make a play when it's presented to you? There were times last week where they could have made plays, and a drop here, a bad throw there, missed block, bad cut, that kind of stuff. You can't do that and consistently move the ball on offense. So hopefully this is a game where they can kind of get back on track and get the offense going a little bit. And I think this is a defense that allows them the opportunity to do that. But we'll find out more this Saturday.